with me, I now have Rory Bathgate, who is our features and multimedia editor, Ross Kelly, our news and analysis editor, and Bobby Hellard, who is our reviews editor. So we're just going to dig into some of these results a little bit more. And Rory, I'd like to start with you. So can you tell us a little bit about the biggest AI trends right now?
Yeah, so I think AI agents are a big focus going into 2025. Anyone who's paid attention to the news in the last few days will have heard the word DeepSeek. I'll get onto that in a sec. It does have implications, but maybe not as apocalyptic implications as was being made out early this week. I think what you see borne out in the stats from the report is that AI has now shifted from an area of intense interest to an area of intense investment. So there was a 24% of respondents said they'd be spending between 20 and 30% of their budget on AI this year. 78% put it in their top 3 areas of interest, and that's up from last year significantly, which shows that it's gone from an area maybe of intense hype, and it was definitely on people's radar, but now it's a core area of focus. So AI agents play into that kind of beautifully. They're a very tangible way of implementing AI. There's ROI there, and that's really what we're starting to see is people are chasing that revenue picture, that return on investment. AI is no longer a speculative investment. You're not getting your foot in the game. You are investing to get returns this year. DeepSeek, I have to mention, obviously I couldn't necessarily foresee that specific model causing such upset, if you'd asked me last week.
What kind of journalist are
I know,
you that you
I know.
didn't
I'm
see this coming?
not predicting the future, but I think what DeepSeek actually shows is that there's potential at the edge for AI. DeepSeek really validates that you can get performant AI models with reasoning capabilities and run them on a gaming GPU. And that's very good for companies that were already looking to deploy AI at the edge. That was already in contention. What wasn't in contention necessarily was that proof that you don't need to rely on the cloud to run AI models that can really, in a very sophisticated way, meet the demands of your business. So a lot of worry about that, but also I think there's a lot to be very hopeful about in DeepSeek. I think it shows that when it comes to unlocking efficiency gains on low-powered hardware, there's a lot for companies to exploit there.
And if you would like to hear more on this topic, may I gently encourage you to listen to tomorrow's ITPro podcast. Bobby, so let's talk a little bit about hardware. Obviously, that's your area of speciality. What are some of the AI hardware trends that we are seeing?
Well, last year was the year of the AI PC. If it wasn't a MacBook or a Chromebook, it was an AI PC that we reviewed. We had a piece go up over Christmas about how Gen AI had kind of changed the laptop a little bit. So you have NPU chips and Copilot buttons. That piece was a little bit negative, suggesting that we didn't quite see the benefits of it at the moment. But there are certain use cases for self-diagnosing laptops and certainly stuff for image editing and writing emails faster. But that's now starting to move into desktop PCs and mini PCs, which will probably be more apparent as we go through this year.
Rory, you've touched on this a little bit already, but I'm going to give you the opportunity to elaborate. How well do you think that IT decision makers, both in the IT department and across the wider business, actually understand AI and how it can be used?
I think it's fair to say that from a strategic perspective, AI is now reasonably well understood. There are model advancements, there are agent advancements, but if you're looking to invest in AI, it's no longer a question of figuring out where it belongs in your business. That's what 2024 was for a lot of companies. What we are seeing is a recognition, it's like the saying that the more you know, the more you don't know, right? 75% of respondents said that AI readiness was going to be a big area of concern or a big area of focus for them this year. That means getting your employees skilled in AI and getting used to the workflows of AI. So obviously the big promise of things like AI agents is that that should be a relatively seamless process. You'd hope that it can be embedded in apps that you already have or in workflows to the extent that employees don't have to get a big manual out and learn how to use the AI model, right? That's what natural language input is for. But that is definitely, I guess, a big concern for 2025 is, okay, we know what we don't know. Let's get to work on making sure that by the end of the year, we're all comfortably using it.
Ross, moving away from AI for a moment, let's talk about cybersecurity. So ransomware has been replaced by phishing, as I said. Why do you think this is?
I think it's a good example of cyber criminals playing the odds game, so to speak. So phishing's been a problem for several years, especially when you look at hybrid working. You're not in the same office as your IT savvy colleagues. If something lands in your inbox, you're perhaps more likely to click it when you're at home. There's also, like I said, the odds game. When you look at the sheer volume of phishing emails that go out every day by cyber criminals, all you need is one hit, and that can be, game over for an organization. Coming back to AI again, when you combine that with the fact that you now have, chatbot services specifically made for cyber criminals, you have Worm GPT, you have Ghost GPT, which there's a bit of research out this week on the website about. This is allowing cyber criminals to really curate, finely curate phishing emails, far more convincing phishing emails, things that are going to slip through nets far more often and dupe people into clicking malicious links, but also in terms of being able to up the volume of these convincing emails that they're able to send and distribute out to people. So yeah, it's a bit of a sort of trifecta of issues. You have people at home, perhaps not as aware as or as vigilant as they would be in the office. You have cyber criminals going, yeah, let's just absolutely bombard people with this. All we need is one hit. And they're using these, great tools, I suppose you could say, to actually, great if you're a cyber criminal, not if you're in the IT or security team, but yeah, using these great tools to be able to up the volume.
It's interesting that you say that, actually, because one of our respondents did say that the biggest issue that they faced last year was a successful phishing attack on their accounting department. So it is a real problem that real people are facing. Bobby, I am going to change tack once again. So let's talk about the relationship that customers have with vendors. There was quite a lot of variation in that with our research. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, so in the report, product and aftercare service were the main things that people looked for when they're looking for new products and services. Pricing kind of mattered as well. And then a little bit further down was vendor reputation. But what was interesting is that people were willing to spend a little bit more and try out new services and new products if it had all the bells and whistles, which basically is AI products. So there's kind of an opportunity for smaller brands and startup brands there.
Having been told not to drop the microphone, I think I'm the only person who's now knocked it against the table twice. Ross, what is the role of the channel rather in building these relationships and the procurement journey?
Yeah, the channel's cool. They do a lot of great work, and they sit at that critical intersection between end user organisations and the vendors themselves. When you look at organisations across all sizes, from small to medium, large enterprises, regardless of how big they are, they're going to have some form of technical expertise issue potentially. That's where the channel plays a really critical role, because they help plug those gaps. So that system integrators aspect of it is really important. I think we'll continue to see that through this year. We've seen it for the last couple of years. We're constantly talking about skills and skills deficits in the UK tech sector and at a lot of companies. That's where the channel's really critical there, because they're able to come in and help you, and they've got that guiding hand role in any process, whether you're going through a digital transformation program, adopting some new solutions, services. It's critical for them.
Well, thank you very much to my three panelists.